Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
You have failed this city.
Wow. I know, right? Hey! Quit messing around!
I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.
Welcome. Gives you the right. What's the difference between you and me?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
But that is being human.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Watchtower. I'm your host, Robert Slavinsky. I'm glad you can all make it here. I am surely glad you can all check out the show today. Yeah, this is kind of just thrown together. I'm a little under the weather, so I do apologize. I don't know if you can hear my voice. I am a little under the weather. Family stuff going on this week. That's why it's kind of late on a Friday that I'm doing this. I think I have decided baseball season is starting for a couple of my kids. I think it's going to be better that I just move this to Fridays. So Watchtower from now until further notice will most likely be Friday nights. Whether it's 8:30 or later, we'll see. We're going to play it by ear on that in that regard. But I think it's going to be better that Watchtower is Friday nights moving forward. So keep that in mind. But we do have a show for everybody today. I think it should be a fun show. For those of you who do actually get a chance to partake in watching, so let's get into it because we got some, some funny things that happened over the last 24 hours in debunking rumors. We have some interesting remarks made by David Zaslav in regards to what James Gunn is working on with the DCU. And then I have a topic that I wanted to talk about specifically on who could direct the inevitable upcoming Justice League movie that will be in the DCU. So let's get into it because as of right now, I don't see any comments in the chat, which is okay. That's fine. Like I said, this was kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing. I didn't expect to see people chatting up a storm or anything like that, because it is kind of late, so that's okay. All right, let's move on to the first time. Unless there is talking, maybe I should do something here, because this happened one other time when I had people actually commenting and it wasn't working. So let me do one thing here before I move into the topics, I should say. And just see if maybe, just maybe, the comments aren't working. Let's check this out real quick. Let's see. Anybody actually commenting? Hunter Iggy is commenting, so he is there. So, all right, yeah, we got a comment here. Hunter Iggy is here. Let's see. What's he say? He says, Slash Retalk, what is your thoughts on David Zaslav mixing up Matt Reeves' Batman with James Gunn DCU Batman? I didn't see that. I didn't catch that he mixed that up. Can you expand on that? Because I'm going to talk about his remarks regarding James Gunn's plans with DCU, but I didn't see that he mixed those up. So, we'll talk about that in a little bit, the James Gunn aspect. All right, moving on to the first topic that I want to get to. Let's get into it. So, Jeff Snyder reported earlier today, maybe it was last night, but it was then reported on like crazy this morning, that Robin was reportedly going to be part of the Batman 2, that he was in the Batman 2 script, and that was coming from Jeff Snyder. Now, we all know how much everybody loves Jeff Snyder, right? Jeff Snyder is the scooper of all scoopers, correct? He's the one that everybody wants to follow and believe because he's right like 70% of the time or less. So everybody listens to him. So this was making its rounds. I think I saw Real Anarchy, Ben from Real Anarchy, like, making fun of it, essentially, saying this is ridiculous. I mentioned, like, look, next he's going to say that this is all because Matt Reeves' Batman is going to be turned into Brave and the Bold, so on and so forth, this and that. Like, it was just a whole bunch of ridiculousness. But then James Gunn responded to somebody on Threads and said, guys, please stop believing this nonsense. I think 6 of us have read the script. No one knows anything about the Batman 2. Okay. Now, is this a full denial that Robin is in the movie? Technically, no. Okay. But it's also him saying it's nonsense. Okay. Like, hearing all this stuff and things like that is nonsense. To sit there and you hear everything that's being said. All these people are saying all these things out there, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Some of it could be. Some of it could end up being true, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it all is true or that it will pan out. But he says, stop believing the nonsense. He says he believes that there's 6 of them that have read this script. So 6 people have read the script for this movie so far. No one knows anything about the Batman 2. And you think it would end there. You think that this afternoon it would just end there. Now, obviously, fans are going to be fans and talk about it back and forth. But the person who specifically started the rumor says, sounds like another non-denial denial from Jimbo. Why not just say Robin isn't in the script? Seems simple, right? I know why he isn't saying that. I say, so you're saying that you are saying you have a source that is one of those 6 people. All right, I specifically asked Jeff Snyder that. He responded, I had a threesome with 2 of those people. This man is the most unserious, most ridiculous, disgusting human being there is. Full stop. Okay, I get he's trying to be funny. I get he's trying to poke the bear. I get he's trying to be ridiculous and rile people up and what have you. But it is ridiculous. First off, let's just go out on a limb here and say he could possibly know one of those 6 people. All right? And he could have easily just said, no, I'm not saying one of those 6 people I know, but I may know somebody who knows one of those 6 people. There you go. That's all he had to say. Okay? He could have said something like that. The fact of the matter is, yes, 6 people have read the script. Okay, now whether all those 6 people could be trusted, hell, it could have been Peter Safran talking to his wife and his nephew in the other room. I don't know if he has a nephew. I don't even know if he has a wife. Could have been overhearing it in the other room, and then goes and tells his dad, and his dad then knows Jeff Snyder and tells Jeff Snyder. Like, who knows? Like, it could have been one of multiple things that could have happened like that. But again, the fact of the matter is Jeff Snyder just acts like a child. He pretends to be this altruistic, great insider with Hollywood that is better than the trades, better than this, better than that. He's not right all the time. And look, I will admit, there have been times where he has been right. A blind squirrel gets a nut from time to time. We know that. But the fact of the matter is, this man needs to just grow up sometimes. All right, you went out and you put your scoop out there. James Gunn said it's poppycock, and you just leave it be. Because if it is true, guess what? In a year and a half, it's going to pop up that it is true. Or 2 years. 2 years, it's going to pop up that it was true. And honestly, it'll be before that, because when casting happens and the shooting happens and what have you, we're going to know if it's true or not. But you have to sit there and act like a child and rile people up and make yourself look like an idiot. And this is part of the reason why people don't like you, Jeff. And I know you probably don't care. You say you don't care, but you probably do. But, that's the thing. This is the problem with scoopers as well. This is one of the reasons that again, theaters are failing. Why? The comic book genre is failing, or because of people like him, because of people just spoiling things all the time, or trying to spoil things all the time, or causing this ruckus within fandoms, or because of people like him. Let the fans just find things out as they come. Let people find out things as they're supposed to. Let the fan enjoy the movie when it comes out. Because that's where the excitement comes from. That's where the excitement should be had. Not at a computer screen from somebody who claims to have had a threesome with some guys 2 years before a movie comes out because he's upset that a scoop that he gave is being debunked by the head of the studio. Like, that's just ridiculous. But anyways, this was just an interesting little tidbit that popped up today. I thought everybody would get a kick out of it. Let's see. We have Joshua Gildian here. He says, "Hey Slav, what are your thoughts on seeing Larfleeze in the DCU?" And Hunter Iggy says James Gunn debunked the rumors. Larfleeze, I'm not even sure what you're talking about there. Is this something that's like come up? Like, is this like I don't? Are you saying Mr. Freeze? Is that what you're trying to say? Because I'm not sure. Or Larfleeze. Okay. Orange Lantern Larfleeze. Oh, ha ha ha. There we go. I feel like an idiot right now. Here's the thing. I think now that we're getting the lanterns, we're getting the lantern show, I think anything's possible at this point. I mean, I feel like a real big idiot right now. No, I think anything's possible when it comes to, with the connections to the Lantern Corps. And we're going to get into that in the next part here. And you're going to see why in a second when I start talking about it. Anything's possible. We can get a plethora of side characters, main characters, enemies, heroes, and what have you. If what is coming, what I was told, what I talked about months ago, what is seemingly looking like a possibility and is actually happening now, does actually come to fruition. So let me know, guys, though, if you have any thoughts about what is going on with the Batman 2, with Robin, with what Jeff Snyder said, how he handled it, James Gunn debunking it, and what have you. Again, I love that James Gunn debunks this stuff. I think it's great. Again, it wasn't like a full debunk the way he said it. He just said it's complete, or stop believing this nonsense. It makes it sound like, look, this Robin thing is nonsense, but he didn't say Robin is not in this movie. Again, things can change also. Things can change. We're still months away from the script being, or the script being shot. So things can change from that, from now till then. If he's in a movie, he can be removed. If he isn't, he can be added. Things can happen. But regardless, if Jeff Snyder's right, he's right. It could happen. Who knows? Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. All right. The next thing I want to talk about here is this here. James Gunn's new Super Family movie might be bigger than you think. That's right. There's been talk over the last couple days that James Gunn might be making a Super Family movie. That's interesting. Now, this report originally came from Variety, or you can go read my thoughts and my beliefs over at slavsfreetalk.com, which I'm going to be bringing up right here. You can share it with all your friends and family. But right now, this is what it says. Let me grab a quick drink here. All right. It says, James Gunn's new Super Family movie might be bigger than you think. Well. Guess you dropped a little bombshell. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav casually mentioned that James Gunn is working on a new movie in the Super Family. And while most of the internet either glossed over it or jumped to wild conclusions, this might actually be a huge deal for the future of the DCU. What did Zaslav actually say? This is what came from Variety directly. James Gunn will write and direct the next installment in the Super Family Warner family. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav confirmed during the company's earnings call. All right. Before I get too far into what is this Super Family film really, if it is even a film or what have you, I first want to say this. Superman just came out to high praise. Superman has so much praise. People are so excited and happy about this movie. It's made a bunch of money. It is very successful. But here's the thing. David Zaslav is the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, a conglomerate that covers a plethora of different types of IPs and franchises. Yes, he knows who Superman is. Yes, he understands what DC is. I'm not saying he doesn't understand those things. But he may have been told by James Gunn, like, hey, I'm making a movie. It's going to have Superman in it. And he may have explained a little bit more of what's in it. So David Zaslav on the earnings call may have just simply, the easiest way to say something, just, hey, he's going to write and direct the next installment in the Super Family. Okay? Now, here's the thing. James Gunn himself hasn't confirmed that he's going to direct this movie. He's actually said to the contrary that he wasn't sure. Is this confirmation that he will direct it? I don't think so, because to me, that could change. That could very easily change. He could write this whole script and decide, you know what? I kind of want to do something else. I like this movie. I like what I wrote, but we'll move on from there. But let's continue here in my article here. So here's what makes the most sense to me. He's already said that he's deep into writing another project that's tied to Superman. What he said is, I'm actually past preparing and well into writing. He said it's not a direct sequel to Superman. He's also confirmed that Superman plays a big role in it. So no, it's not Superman 2, but it sure as hell sounds like a continuation of the story. Now, a few months back, I heard, this is coming directly from me, from someone with a pretty solid track record, that DC Studios was discussing a structural approach for the DCU. I don't know if you remember this, but I talked about, it was more specifically on the Bat family side of things, how they were going to focus really like on Gotham and this whole idea of like the Bat family and building out the Bat family in a way. But in that episode, like the article and then the episode for, I think it was on a Watchtower, we did it. I really discussed and talked about how that could work for Superman and Lanterns and everything like that. And basically, it's a pocket universe style setup. Think of like a Super Family pocket, a Bat family, a Green Lantern corner, etc., etc. Each with its own tone, style, and internal continuity, but with room for crossover events when needed. In other words, focused storytelling that doesn't sacrifice the shared universe entirely. This Super Family film could be the blueprint for that model. So let me break it down for you, okay? The way that it would work is, this whole idea is we have a Superman movie and we have Supergirl coming out. So we already have these two established characters within the Superman lore that's coming out. If this Super Family film happens to be Superman and Supergirl movie, or a Superman movie that's really focusing, like maybe it's Steel, or somebody else within the Superman family, maybe they somehow introduce Connor Kent or something, who knows. But let's say they introduce more of the Superman family into this, and they start to build out that whole aspect and idea that, okay, the Superman mythos in the DCU is kind of secluded in its own, but then there's going to be crossovers from time to time. Then we're going to start to see how this structure is going to work for the DCU, and this is going to be the model, the blueprint for it. Just like the comics are. Because if you think about it, when you look at the comics, you have the run of Superman comics. You have the run of Batman comics. You have the run of Green Lantern. You have the Green Arrow. You have Flash. And they all are pretty secluded on their own. They all have their own little story arcs, their own little families and whatnot. But then they'll have crossovers from time to time, when big events where they all come together. And sometimes they will have crossovers where, hey, Ollie might show up in this issue of The Flash, or Barry might show up in this issue of this, or what have you. Like, things will pop up where these characters will show up in different issues here and there, but in the main the main play, they're just there. They're there, but they're not always included. So this is, like I said, months ago, I was told that this was kind of the idea that they were having when it comes to the DCU. If they're moving forward with this, it sounds more likely that, hey, the first thing that they're doing is going to focus specifically on the Superman family aspect to make that the blueprint. So then when they start to establish Batman, then that's the next one, or Green Lantern, which they're already starting. They're starting, with Lantern Corps, the Lantern Corps show, and then they can build out from there. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? I think it really does. I think it's exciting. You see, it's one of those things that you sit there and it's like, when you think about it, it's very comic booky. Superman, that movie, was extremely comic booky. So if they just kind of really lean into the comic bookness, even in how they're making this universe, it kind of makes sense. Not to mention that Superman is going to be the center of this universe. So if you start with the Superman and Superman family, again, makes sense. You're not starting with Harley Quinn, not Batman, or some weird project or anything like that. It is going to be Superman, which I think is great. Now, again, like I said, will Gunn direct it? I know that's what Zaslav said. I still think it's a tough call. Let's not forget, James Gunn, he started his career writing more than anything in Hollywood. So it's not like he's not used to doing that. I also would like for him to focus a lot more on the creative side and the head of the studio side than jumping in and writing and directing everything. I don't mind him writing, but the directing side, because it takes so much time and so much effort, I think it would be best for him to kind of step back. Write a few movies, write a few projects, hand them off. Here, do this. Here, do this. That kind of thing. But I think he should be saved to direct some of the bigger, instances in the universe if possible. The Superman starting it off was a great idea to have him do it. And some other projects here and there down the line, absolutely. But not the first two huge, Superman projects. I mean, I know Supergirl is not him. It's Craig Gillespie is directing that. But again, I would like to see him kind of step back from the director's chair for a little bit. But if he can do it, if they believe that he's capable of doing both jobs and successfully, then okay, that's fine. But I'd rather see more filmmakers get a chance to get in there and give their take as well. But let me know your thoughts. This is, again, really interesting. If this is the way they're going, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Check out slavsfreetalk.com to find this article, to read over it, see what it's all about. Give me your thoughts on all of this because it's really, really interesting. All right. What do we have here? Let me see. Hold on one. Hunter Iggy says, I think might be Superman and Supergirl versus Brainiac or Superman and Supergirl versus Lobo. I don't know if they do versus Lobo, but I like the Brainiac idea. Brian with an eye says, I've had my fill of grounded Batman with the Nolanverse. Congrats to those who want it, though. I'm the same. I want more of a fantastical Batman. Kevin Davis, what's going on? Endgame goal is to spin off Warner Brothers. James Gunn can plan DC future. Doesn't mean anything at all. Look, Kevin, I know that you have this hatred for DC for some reason, but they're doing perfectly fine. And even if, let's just say there's some chance, for some reason, they end up selling Warner Brothers, the people that come in there aren't going to just immediately say, you know what, James Gunn, you're fired. Peter Safran, you're fired. We're restarting everything. if they're successful, they're going to keep going with everything. So, yeah, they can keep doing things and they can keep making movies and projects. And if people like them, if they're successful, if they're making money, they're going to keep them on. Superman is successful. Lanterns is going to be successful. Peacemaker is going to be successful because the first one was successful. That kind of stuff is going to stick around and be something that they look at and say, oh, wow, that's successful. They're doing something right. I mean, that's just the way it works. So don't sit there and think if Warner Brothers gets sold off, if for some odd reason they spin off DC, that they're just going to up and fire them or change the direction. Because that would actually be more damaging to the brand than continuing on. So, yeah. Let's see. Brian with an eye said, somebody took Superfamily literally and posted a picture of Superman and Supergirl kissing. That's ridiculous. People don't know anything. Kevin Davis says, Paramount owners were polishing up their company before they sold off, but got by Skydance. Movie Talk Now. It's in here. Cheers, everyone. What's going on? It says typo in the headline. There's a typo in the headline. James Gunn's new Superfamily be bigger than you think. Where's it at? Or is it my headline for the show? Let me see. I don't see any. You can just tell me what it is. I don't take offense to it. You know how it can be sometimes. Sometimes you're just rushing around and you don't pay attention and things just happen. Okay. Anyways. Alright. Oh, missing a D and should. Okay, I'll fix it later. Alright, thank you. Okay, moving on. Who should direct the next Justice League? All right, this should be a fun one here, guys, for sure. So who should be the director of the next Justice League? Because we know we're getting one. We're going to get a Justice League movie. It's coming probably within the next 5 to 6 years, minimum, I would say. I'm hoping not much longer than that, but we're definitely going to get another Justice League. So personally, I think we should definitely get, some, idea of who should direct it, at least some discussion on it, because that's what's fun. Again, I talk about this all the time, is what's fun is the speculation on these new universes. You know what I mean? So I made a list of some directors here. I'd love to see in the chat who you think could direct a Justice League movie. And don't just put one, put multiple who you think. Because you never know. You might put somebody up that's pretty big. And I just got a thumbs down. What the heck? That's not very nice. But hey, you help the algorithm. That's okay. Anyways, okay. So, moving on. So, the first one, Travis Knight. Now, you may know Travis Knight from Bumblebee. He made the Bumblebee movie. He also did Kubo and the Two Strings. I think he's kind of a sleeper pick, but he was fantastic for Bumblebee. I think he reinvigorated Transformers and that whole Transformers universe with Bumblebee. But they didn't continue on with him or that whole idea. That movie is the best Transformers movie there is. And like for me, I think that between the way that he can bring heart and bring like some great visuals like he did to that movie, I think he could do a really cool thing directing a Justice League movie. Again, like I always say, heroics, humor, heart, and with him, even some hopefulness. So that's number one. These are in no particular order, by the way. Brad Bird is another one. You might know Brad Bird from directing The Incredibles or The Iron Giant. Yes, he also did a Mission Impossible movie. This man knows how to juggle team dynamics, emotional stakes, and eye-popping action, whether it's animated or live action. He basically already made a better Fantastic Four movie than anyone else. Yes, even as of August 8th, 2025, this is still true. He knows how to make characters feel human even when they're gods. He would introduce and bring a great vibe of optimism and heroics, allowing the DCU to remember that fun exists. So that's a fun one. Another one, Bryce Dallas Howard. Look, she's a little bit of an outsider. She is. She's definitely an outsider. She doesn't have really any experience with a big budget film like this, but I think she's earned her ability and right to do something like this. She's done an amazing job with the little bit of directing that she's done on television, and maybe she should jump in and do something smaller on screen first before doing this, but I think she could do this. I think because she knows how to really do heroic moments, balance emotion and action, and she really knows how to build tension. If you watch her episodes of The Mandalorian especially, she really, really knocks it out of the park. Really, really knocks it out of the park. So I would like to see Bryce Dallas Howard give it a shot, if possible. Another one, Justin Lin. This is an interesting one. Justin Lin. He's done some of the Fast movies like Fast 5. And one that is overlooked is Star Trek Beyond. Star Trek Beyond is, I think, a very underrated Star Trek movie. I think that there's more so than the Fast movies, I think, is the reason why I picked this. Now, don't get me wrong, the Fast 5 and stuff like that kind of proves to me that he can do the team and, you know, the action sequences more so. But there was a lot of action in Star Trek Beyond, and there was that team camaraderie between the crew. Look, he brings a lot of fun and energy to the scenes. He's able to do sci-fi and everything like that. I think he'd do great. And then also James Gunn. I don't know if you know this guy. He's done Guardians of the Galaxy. He did The Suicide Squad. Oh yeah, that's right. He's also the architect of the DCU, darn it. So let's not pretend. He's already laying the tracks of the new universe, and if he wants everything to come together cohesively, he would be the man to do it. He gets ensemble dynamics, he respects source material, and he knows how to make even C-list characters feel essential. Peacemaker, for instance. We know he can bring heart, big stakes, weird villains, emotional moments to the screen that actually land. So those are some of the ones that I think could be a director for the Justice League, but I would love to hear who you think can direct a Justice League. Brian with an I says, anyone but Michael Bay and J.J. Abrams. I can agree with Michael Bay. J.J. Abrams, here's the thing. I like J.J. Abrams as a director. I do. I like him more as a writer. But I don't mind him as a director. I don't. I know people don't like his lens flare, but let's not act like he isn't a good director. That first Star Trek movie that he did is phenomenal. Star Wars The Force Awakens, a great movie. He is a good director. Writing wise, phenomenal. You can go all the way back to a movie like Regarding Henry. That movie is fantastic. Just his ability to write, and then you take a look at something like Lost that he produced. Didn't he also do Alias? Wasn't he on a producer and somebody that helped create Alias? He's done so much stuff, phenomenally. So, J.J. Abrams, I wouldn't be against it. Plus, he knows sci-fi. And if you want to add some sci-fi elements to a Justice League movie, he might be your man to do it. He's not going to be on my list of 5, but he's somebody that I would probably put on a list of 10 for sure. How about George Miller? George Miller wouldn't be a bad one either. Johnny Dome says Steven Spielberg for an Aquaman movie. I don't know if I could see a Steven Spielberg-esque type of film in a comic book realm. I just don't know if I could see it. Maybe, but I don't know. Brian with an eye says, good Lord, the lens flare. I mean, it's not any worse than getting, what is it, like 23 minutes of slow motion like we got in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Literally, there's like 23 minutes of slow motion shots in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So it would be no worse than that. And so that's all I'm saying. Let's see. Anybody else? What else do you guys got here? This might be a short show. I don't have much more to talk about. I knew there wouldn't be a lot of people in the chat, but man. Let's see. I can try. And Johnny Dome then says Steven Spielberg for Jurassic League. Yeah, sure, Jurassic League, yeah. I'm sure that would go off real fine. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's wild. That is wild for sure. Let's see, what else do we got here? Trying to see if I have any other news to talk about to kind of switch it up. We went over the main stuff because I know Donovan shared something with me today that he was pretty up in arms about. I wanted to see if it's something that I could talk about here. And I'm sick of talking about. You guys sick of talking about box office? I tell you what, like, there's so much discussion about box office going on right now, and how, like, when it comes to not just Superman, but all these movies right now, like what's going on with the box office, like, Fantastic Four, Superman, and even like the lower budget films, they're just box office. And I'm like, this is wild. I've never focused on the box office so much in my life until recently, doing podcasts and talking about movies. This is wild to me, and I'm just getting sick of it a little bit. I really am. It's crazy. Let's see. Johnny Dome says Edgar Wright Nightwing movie. That I would like to see. Give Edgar Wright a Nightwing movie. I'm down for that. Or no, do this. Give Edgar Wright an Atom movie. The Atom. And if you know why, it's because Edgar Wright was originally supposed to do an Ant-Man movie. So give him the Atom and go from there. Manola, hopefully I'm saying it right. Manola Ribera, glad your channel came up on my suggestions. Oh, thank you very much, man. I'm glad that I could be part of your day or your night, or I don't know where you at in the world, but I'm glad I could be there for you, and hope you enjoy my channel. But yeah, that would be great to see Edgar Wright, since he didn't get to do Ant-Man, to do the Atom. I think that'd be hilarious. That would be funny. But anyways, as I was saying, the box office, like everything going on about the box office, just box office this, box office that, comparing box office to 10, 15 years ago, 8 years ago. It's like, enough. Like, we all know. Like, we aren't stupid. Like, you guys in the chat are not dumb. The people who, like, I know all the people that are the Snyder fans, they're not dumb. The studios aren't dumb. We all know that it is now 2025. It is not 2015. It's not 2018. It's not 2012. It's not 2010. The time is different. You can't look at what happened back then and say, well, movies back then made this much money, so why aren't my movies today making that much money? Like, none of us are that dumb. None of us are stupid enough to question that. So why is that a topic of discussion anymore? Like, it's just wild to me that that is something that's going on in this pop culture bubble right now. And I'm just getting sick of talking about it. Like, I really, truly am. It's just, I'm over it. Oh, man. Brian with an eye says, is DC Studios tight-lipped on the Lantern series, or have I been missing updates? They ended production, it's probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. They wrapped, I think, most production. No, it was about a week ago. Yeah, was it last week? Sinestro, the guy who plays Sinestro, wrapped his production. So they're probably just about done. Excuse me. They've done a pretty good job keeping things under wraps with that, which is great to see. Great to see. Johnny Dome says, Dollman is canon, so maybe Dollman. Johnny Dome says, Gone with the Wind made $4 billion with inflation. Yeah, that's what I said. Again, I'm sick of box office stuff, though. Like, I'm over it. Like, why do people care so much about box office? What is that? How does it affect your life? How does the box office affect your life right now? How does it affect anything going on with does it affect your enjoyment of the movie? Does it affect how you feel about the film? How you feel about what's coming out? It shouldn't. You know, like, it's crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy. Johnny Dome says, Matter Eater Lad is canon, so maybe that would be cool. Are we talking about potential villains for the next Superman film, or the sequel, not sequel? Manola says the box office talk is tiresome. It really is. It really is. Jalen says, Slav, this Superman flop or lose money talk on the internet has driven me insane. Now you got Clay Travis saying Superman lost $100 million somehow. Like, God dang it, why? Yeah, I saw that too. You know, people want to. I was thinking about pulling up that article today and talking about it, but when I read the article, that because there's I don't know if you guys know. I think it's not the Wrap. What was it? I can't remember what it is. Anyways, there's an article that basically talks about comic book movies as a whole are struggling, and what can they do? What's the thing that they can do? Let me see if I can find it, because comic book movies losing money. Article. Sheet. Where's it at? I can't remember where it's from, but I can't find it. Was it the Wrap? Maybe it was the Wrap. I don't know. Tell me if I'm right or wrong, if it was the Wrap or not. But anyways, it was talking about how these movies are losing money and what can these comic book studios do to save them, and talks about how Superman's lost money and it's not looking good for Fantastic Four and blah blah blah. So I was going to talk about it, but it kind of encapsulates all superhero films and what have you. And the thing is Superman is doing well. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, in 2025, Superman has beaten all the odds. It has become the highest grossing opening weekend. It's had legs. It's the highest domestic film for comic book movies this year. It's the highest domestic film this year. It's doing all the right things it can do for a movie, for a superhero movie. It's just that for some reason, people just aren't going to see movies like they used to. They're not going 2, 3, 4 times like they used to. The thing is, there's multiple reasons why, though. And that's kind of the thing that article left out. The article left a lot of it out. And a lot of other people keep ignoring these things. One is these memberships that you get at movie theaters. So, for instance, AMC A-list. You know, you pay $25 a month and you can go see 4 movies a week. Now, yes, if I go see a movie at my AMC at 3:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday, or not a Tuesday, we'll say a Thursday, at 3:30 in the afternoon on a Thursday, it'll cost me $10 now? $10 to go see a movie on a Thursday in the afternoon. So it costs $10. If I go see that movie, as long as I go see that film, AMC then counts that as a $10 sale. Okay? That's what they do. They count that as a $10 sale. So, yes, they are still tracking that as normal amount of money. But the thing is, people are buying these AMC A-lists and these memberships, and they're not going and seeing the same movie 3, 4, 5 times. They're going and they're seeing, oh, I got this A-list. I'm going to go see Superman. You know what? A movie that they typically wouldn't go and see, they're then going to go see. So they're seeing these other movies as well. So these other movies are getting a little bit more money than they normally would. Or they could do it like I did last year. I had A-list almost the entire year and just forgot to use it and didn't have time to use it. And that's happening as well. So there's a lot of things when you sit there. It's like, okay, you have these memberships that really affect the way people go see movies. Then you have streaming. And we talked about this the other day, how digital and streaming affects how people go to movies. Jurassic World, you can go and rent digitally on TV right now. You can pay $35 and watch it on TV, on your home TV right now. It just came out in theaters a little more than a month ago. Why would you go to the theater and pay $60, $70 plus for you and your family to go see the movie, get snacks, when you can pay $35 at home and pay $2 for popcorn and drinks in your house? Again, that's the kind of stuff that we're seeing. So, yeah, I mean, box office stuff sucks, but there's got to be other fixes for it than blaming the studios for not making good movies, because Superman was a good movie. Thunderbolts was a fantastic movie, but nobody went to see it. Why did nobody go see it? There's some issues with Marvel, sure, but it was a fantastic movie. But it just cost too much to go, and people were sitting there saying, well, it's just going to end up on streaming soon enough, so I'll just see it there. You know, there's a lot there. There's a lot to unpack with that. It really is. All right. What are we saying here? There's a lot of stuff here. AOG 34. Box office doesn't matter. Movies historically matter with how they age and conversation it sparks culturally. Box office matters for a couple reasons. One, it matters because that's what really pushes and determines the idea if that franchise is going to continue. For instance, these big IPs and franchises, Harry Potter, Star Wars, DC, Marvel, they won't continue them if these movies don't make big money at the box office. Now, a movie like Sinners, or what came out this weekend, Weapons, things like that, they won a decent box office return, but they made them for such little money that, hey, they don't need to make as much money as these big tentpole films. Those movies, though, are more like, hey, how is this going to spark conversation down the line? Are people going to be talking about these 3-4 years down the line? Because that's more of an auteur. These are more auteur type of films. These are films that are going to stay culturally relevant in some form or fashion down the line. That's fine. But these tentpole films, that's where box office does matter, because, again, most of them are going to be franchises that you want to have talked about, or not talked about, you want to continue for time to come. There's only a couple directors that you look at and filmmakers that you say, you know what, we're going to give them a lot of money because we trust them, and not necessarily worried about them making a franchise, because they themselves, the filmmakers, are the brand. They're the ones that you're trusting it, not the IP. You're looking at Christopher Nolan, you're looking at James Cameron, you're looking at Steven Spielberg, and maybe a little bit starting to Denis Villeneuve. Like, those are kind of the ones right now that you could sit there and say, we're going to give them money because we trust that they are more of a brand now than the movies they're making. But most of the time, when these studios are giving money, they want these films to be successful at the box office because they want to continue them. Let's see. Jalen says box office talk went from fun and engaging to annoying real fast, all because of Superman. AOG says nobody talks about the Fast movies or Avatar movies, even reference them seriously. You're right. Nobody talks about, I mean, the Avatar's talked about probably a little too much. I think those movies are terrible. I can't say movies. I saw the first one, didn't like it, never saw the second one. But the Fast and Furious movies, I mean, in little cliques, they're talked about, honestly. They're fun little action, movies. They shouldn't be fun, but they are. They got out of hand for sure. They'll be irrelevant. Once the last one finally comes out, they'll be irrelevant very quickly. You're right. But that's what happens. Like, look, think of like Rambo. Think of what's another franchise like that? Like the Van Damme films, the Steven Seagal films of the past. Like, people don't talk about their films from the 90s because they eventually become irrelevant. But you then have films like Lethal Weapon. People still talk about Lethal Weapon. The Die Hards, they still talk about those. So there are films that can still be talked about over time. Fast and the Furious, those films probably will be forgotten at some point. Maybe not, maybe a couple of them will still be talked about, but not the entire franchise. AOG says, and I remember watching Batman Begins in a half-empty theater opening weekend, being impressed Batman was back, and look what The Dark Knight did. Yeah, but The Dark Knight, look, Batman Begins was a great movie. I still think it's the best in that trilogy. The Dark Knight also did, like, there's no way to truly tell if this would happen or not, but I truly believe that The Dark Knight, its success, a large part of its success was because of the death of Heath Ledger. And people wanted to see what was essentially his last real performance. I know that he had that other movie that came out that, a bunch of people had to finish his role for. I can't remember what it was called. But like, this was his last full film performance, essentially. And so people wanted to go out to see that. Plus, they heard how crazy he was in the movie. Plus, there was the rumor that it was this movie that broke him, that caused him to die. So there was a lot surrounding that movie that drew people to go see it. Was it a good movie? Yeah, it's a good movie. I don't think it's the best Batman movie. I think Batman Begins is better. But yes, you're right. I mean, Batman Begins was the catalyst that got people excited for Batman again. And without that, you wouldn't have had The Dark Knight to get Heath Ledger as the Joker, so on and so forth. So, yes. AOG says, Superman 25 reminds me of Batman Begins, same circumstances. I think it's completely different. I think Superman 25 has far more excitement than Batman Begins did. So I think once we get a sequel, the next, not sequel, but the next movie in the DCU, the next movie connected to Superman 25, I think we're going to see even a bigger pop in attendance than we even did with The Dark Knight. I just think that's how it's going to be, just because of there being so much more excitement and so much more hype around Superman. But that's me. I think it's much different. Brian with an eye says, Rebirth isn't going to hit $1 billion like its predecessors. No, it's not. Jurassic World you're talking about. No, it's not. Johnny Dome says, streaming is stronger and reservations exist now. Critic Chris, I've seen gun haters like flops themselves. One praised Indiana Jones 5, another thought Helen Slater's Supergirl film was great, but it's whatever. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Manola says Superman was in a similar position as Batman Begins, rehab the IP after several years of poorly received entries. Yeah, similar position. AOG, you guys got to be careful with some of these online influencers and not pay too much attention. Half of it is sensationalism for clicks and views because in 2025, everyone wants to make content. 100%. 100% accurate. Yes. But, again, you take a look at someone like, look, I mean, even me. Like, I have a YouTube channel. I make videos. I do podcasts. I got to make clips. I got to make clicks. I got to get clicks. I got to get views. I had somebody just... was it today or yesterday, commented on a video I put up and said, I'm unsubscribing. You're trying to be like a Geeks and Gamers channel. I'm like, I'm not trying, I admit, 2 years ago I was trying to be like Geeks and Gamers, but I'm not now. But the video I was making, was it for click? Every single video I make, this is something that people need to understand. Every single video I make is for clicks. Every single video I make, I want to get views. Some of them I make to rile up a crowd. Some of them I make to excite another crowd. Some of them I make to pique the interest of another crowd. That's the whole idea. So I get why there's some influencers and some people out there and why they do what they do. I get it. I understand that. And sometimes I bite because it's fun. Because it's fun to play back and forth with them. Sometimes it's one of those things. It's like, hey, if I bite, people might notice me as well, and they might click on my if it's on Twitter, they might click on my Twitter profile and follow me, and there's somebody who's going to start following me then. So it's kind of how it works, and I think we all fall into that in some way, on social media, on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever it is. We all kind of fall into that in some form or fashion. Sean O'Rourke is here. He says, 3,240 prints still out of Jurassic World Rebirth, still clocking 1 million per day. Yeah, but that's that's going to slow down. That's slowing down. Definitely after this weekend, it's going to slow down. AOG says this was a good year for comic book movies. The residual results will show next year. Hopefully. Sean O'Rourke says box office matters because it's called show business and it needs to turn a profit for shareholders' value. I mean, that's the simplistic way of saying it, Sean. Come on now. Oh, man. AOG says, but my argument is quality drives follow-up interest. Yes, 100%. You need to have quality. 100%. And unfortunately, excuse me, quality was lacking there for a few years. It really was. But we're starting to see it again. We are starting to see the quality again. It's starting to come back. Manola, lots to unpack with Disney. Marvel purposely alienated a large portion of the audience with their activism. The current audience is a result. Respectful opening, but minimal legs. Yeah. Very bad legs with Fantastic Four. Johnny Dome, some movies flop in box office, but get loved later on. That is also very true. My favorite to point to is Kevin Smith's Mallrats. I always point to that. Let's see. Donovan says, also, it did outgross those past DCU films, and it will outgross BVS by next week. Talking about Superman, yes. Oh, thank you. Manola says, the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus was Heath Ledger's last movie. Thank you. Movie Talk Now says, I wanted to find out who was riling him so bad. Oh, you guys are talking about how you found me. Okay. Let's see. Donovan says, I'm going to be seeing K-pop Demon Hunters in theaters. I can't wait. Didn't know that was going in theaters. I thought it was just on Netflix. Interesting. All right. Well, guys, you know what? I don't have much more to talk about, and like I said, I'm a little under the weather. At the beginning of the show, I talked about how I'm under the weather and not feeling great, so I'm not going to keep pushing myself here. Brian with an eye says, Slav is the moderate middle of comic book movies. Am I? Is that what you call me? That's interesting. I do want to say, go check out my channel. Look, I know this is DC related. I do want to say, I did just post a video today about Franklin Richards. So that's, the son of Reed and Sue Richards, the Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman. If you don't know who Franklin Richards is, it's a really cool, short little video, less than 5 minutes long, kind of explains who he is and what it could mean to the MCU. So if you are an MCU fan and curious of what this character could potentially bring to the MCU, it's a cool little video that you could check out. So go check that out on my channel when you get off here. So yeah, go check that out. Thank you, Sean, for saying feel better. Thank you. Manola says, I'm looking forward to Green Lantern series. Yes, so am I. Can't wait for that to come out. But guys, I am going to get out of here. Like I said, I'm a little under the weather, so I will check you all out later next week. See you all around. Remember, I am moving Watchtower to Fridays. This is the first week doing that, so starting now, moving forward, Fridays for the Watchtower. All right, guys, talk to you later.